Thank you, John. Thank you so much for that introduction. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to SHRM's Global Mobility and Immigration Symposium. We call it GMIS. We're definitely global this year, with GMIS being fully virtual. All of us are experiencing this for the first time, and we have international speakers joining us from around the world over the next 2 days. And while this event may not be mobile this year, it was critical that we gather virtually to make sure that workplaces and policymakers keep immigration and mobility at the top of the agenda. This pivot to a virtual conference is emblematic of what we as HR, immigration, and mobility leaders are able to accomplish. The need to be flexible and agile and to empower our businesses to do the same is a must-have competency for organizational success now more than ever, and we've proven that we can do it. Look, when we entered 2020, we were in an utterly different place. I remember unemployment, the skills gap, we were begging people to come to work. The world of work we were planning for vanished almost overnight. And the one before us is still coming into focus. We used to be able to talk to futurists and we kind of knew what the world was going to look like, or we had an idea. We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen first quarter 2021. Right now, we're making some of the hardest decisions of our careers because they directly impact people's lives and their livelihoods. And we have to think about both of those. Yes, we want people to be safe and healthy, but we also need to get people back to work. We are constantly navigating that balance every day. And so that's why I'm so excited to have this guest speaker with us today, because he works for a company that has 1.5 million people who had to continue to work in the physical workplace, many of them throughout this entire pandemic. What role will immigration and mobility play in the next normal? We don't say new normal because I don't know how much of it's going to be new, but it's the next one. We believe at SHRM a large one. One thing the global pandemic has shown us is that talent has to be mobile for businesses and organizations to survive. And looking ahead, I know we've only pushed the pause on our nation's and our world's skills gap. Birth rates are still dropping precipitously in the developed world, and we have nowhere near enough talent to meet the needs of an economy that will rebound. I promise you it will, with even higher demand for skilled workers who can adapt quickly to new technologies. So this conference will help us build a winning strategy for a changed world of work. At SHRM, one of our 6 guiding principles in particular has been getting a real workout this year. That is showing flexibility and agility. That HR colleagues and immigration and mobility colleagues will be our greatest strength going forward. And it's what we're going to talk about in this opening session. I am so happy to welcome my friend Eduardo Garza, Chief People Officer and Senior Vice President for Walmart in Mexico and Central America, the largest employer in the region. He's a seasoned HR leader who balances the lives and livelihoods of more than 230,000 Walmart associates every day. He's made it his mission to position the retail giant as the best place for talent to be, grow, and belong. Eduardo promotes a culture of agility and change, honed by more than 35 years. He must have started when he was a baby, right, as an HR professional. Before joining Walmart, he was CHRO for PepsiCo and an active member of the PepsiCo Latin American Leadership and Transformation Council. So you know a little bit about transformation, right? And this year, he was appointed to the Walmart Foundation Board of Directors in Mexico and the U.S., and the board of the Big Group in Brazil. He personifies all the reasons corporate boards should always include CHROs. This year, Eduardo finished his term as president of NAHRMA, the North American Human Resource Management Association, and I am humbled to follow him in this post for 2020 through 2022. He's a hard act to follow, and I've learned so much working alongside him in NAHRMA. Eduardo, thank you for your global leadership in creating better, more mobile workplaces, and for being with us today. Thank you. So, I have a couple of questions for you. right? A couple, I'm going to work you for the next 45 minutes, just like you expect those 230,000 people who work in Walmart world in your region. So here we go. Given the current global health and economic crisis, and in your role as Walmart CHRO for Mexico and Central America and NAHRMA President, what do you think has changed most radically in workforce dynamics during this crisis? Like, give me the top three, because if you're like me, I could give you 10 things. But what are the top three that have changed the most during this crisis?
First of all, thank you, Johnny. It's a privilege being with you. You know my admiration. I was just to reinforce your leadership and tremendous commitment to the HR community. So, and you will be a tremendous successor in the NAHRMA, and you will do great as always you have done. So it's my privilege to have your friendship and your guidelines in some leadership of HR. So that's the first thing. You just take my mind blew around just thinking about how many changes we have been facing during the last 9 months. You will ask me this on February of this year. Everything was setting to accomplish an objective in the well-known traditional way of doing things in the business model. This new pandemic has come to change everything. And when I say everything, it means everything. The way that we connect, the virtual speech that we're saying that now we're going this global forum on mobility, doing virtually, which is going to be something that will change everything. So saying that, let me come back to your question. And I will say it, I have like 20 ideas in my head, but I can start saying that when we start this new way of doing business, it's exactly that. We were facing a tremendous transformation since I joined the organization to become a new retail organization that can offer our clients at the center of our decisions the best way to buy an experience, a very nice experience when you go to a one store or you want to buy an app and deliver to your home or pick up at the store. So we were facing that in a planning of 5 years, and we start with all this methodology of agility. And what we have found is this pandemic, sad pandemic, has come to challenge us in terms of innovation. So I would say the first thing is they accelerate the innovation in terms of transformation. So what we were planning to do in a way of working, mainly to work not as a silos, work from end-to-end processes, centralized our clients in our decision, that by the way was saying not our main strength, has come to accelerate because it was not any other option to do it. We were not willing to continue working as an insulated structure. We need to see from the purchasing materials or products, transport to the different warehousing, and then deliver in our clients in their new preference, which is not in the store or my home. So I would say that way of working, acceleration, innovation, and for sure we can talk more later. It's a new way of doing things. The second one, I would say, Johnny, is the redefinition of jobs and skills. You were saying a little bit at the beginning of your introduction. Now, when we start the process, it was a real war for talent. It was a real war for talent. And you have a lot of restriction because when I was looking for some kind, let's say, digital transformation to define products, I'm the only one that I was found with the capability was in India or was in USA, was in Brazil or something. I was unable to offer because I need in the traditional world to have somebody sit at Mexico or Central America. Now I have the flexibility with this new redefinition to have a broader perspective. So innovation, way of thinking, collaboration, flexibility is some description of the capabilities and skill that they used to be there, but it was not more at the definition of the job was, I need a 10 years of experience on retail, how to sell, how to make an operation. Now is how to work as a team, manage different sorts of complexity multi abilities, multi skills, multi everything, multi. So you has I had the privilege to hear you in a conference, and you said this reshape and upskill your abilities to become as a better leader. Now is a demanding.
That's right.
To have every single day. No? And I will say the third one, which has been pushing hard by our president, Doug McMillan, and the different Donna Morris as an HR, including Judy McCann as a head of international, is we need to think that the company was born and was built into a very solid value foundation to us make life better for our customers and consumers. So yes. That's something very easy that was found a long time ago, but now we need to come to take an action, because sometimes you miss that objective. And when the pandemic, we came to say it at the center of our decision, what is the client wants? What is our associated at the store needs? And because of that, we were saying, so I will say way of working, process end-to-end, focus on client and associates, and the new job, skill, reskill, things that were not there, and now it's a mandatory to have.
My gosh, you know, I could have, just listening to you, I've been busy kind of thinking in my mind because I don't have a pen right to take down the notes, but you're spot on. These are the issues. And what's wonderful about it is it's not just a U.S. issue. It's not just a Central America issue. It's not just, you know, a European issue. These are global issues. And it's amazing how, although we might have different languages and we have different cultural norms and mores and folkways, at the end of the day, this is global. What we do is truly global, and the issues are as different as they are the same. So here's my next question. It's kind of a little bit of a follow-up to the question that I first asked. Taking into account the changes that you just outlined, what are the greatest challenges for employers to overcome in the short term? So, you know, the struggle for us is there are a lot of things that we know will take time to fix. When we talk about the skills gap, that doesn't happen overnight. The issue wasn't created overnight, the problem, and it's not going to be fixed overnight. But there are some things that we have got to sort as employers quickly, particularly when we think about recruitment and retention practices. I mean, you just talked about it. Talent is now available anywhere, right? The days of I can only hire people who work within a 50-mile radius of a store, for example, a retail location for you, or technology people have to live near one of our technology centers. Well, maybe not anymore. And that is the blessing, and I'm going to use that term, of COVID. For all of the negatives that we all know, especially it's a profound effect on our economy and our lives and our health, there's some benefits to this all, right? And one of them is what we've got to do in the short term to respond to it. Talk to me just a little bit about that, specifically recruitment and retention.
Yeah, it's a real challenge. Having 250,000 associated with high turnover, you basically need to hire around 8,000 to 10,000 new employees or associates per month. So it was a real challenge. A month.
8,000 to 10,000 employees in a month. You got to hire new employees.
Yeah. Wow, that's true. So it's used to be a challenge and continue to be a challenge. But as you mentioned at the beginning, Johnny, we must continue working, operating in a circumstance which is this critical situation. Other companies, unfortunately, need to stop, etc. But in our case, we need to continue operating. So we need to take care of the health and safety of our associates. But at the beginning, our challenge was how to do it in a new kind of business model that we were not willing to understand and to have a comprehensive perception. When it's going to stop, when it's going to continue, what is going to be the risk to continue operating on the stores or not. So basically, we split into two, let's say, committees.
Okay.
One was the operation committee, which was taking care of the continued recruitment, onboarding process a traditional way. And then we start focusing in what is next to accelerate innovation. So what I want to share with you two ideas. It was we continue with the traditional way of doing recruitment, which was hiring people, having the normal interview with a lot of protection and security safety, masks, etc. Everything, as you has mentioned, globally is exactly the same practice. And we were using that with a lot of precaution. But suddenly we start using a new technology. Okay, we start using these different websites to understand, to branding ourselves. We are a very traditional company that wants to aspire to become as a digital agile. So we start looking to sources such as LinkedIn or Facebook, and suddenly we start matching the hiring from 80-20 presential virtual in 2 months to a 98% virtual.
Wow.
98% virtual.
Wow.
That's mean to an end in 2 months, around 7 weeks, we had around 25,000 new associates. That was honestly really challenging, but it was the easy part because you can hire because it was a lot of necessities. And it was known by everyone that a lot of different companies stopped. There even fired people. So there was a lot of traditional skilling on the market, so we can hire them. But then we start moving into internet, and we realized that based on our culture and to maintain the customer at the center, we need to really continue doing our training process. We are very stricted in our training, quality at the store, service oriented, all the basic that in order to provide a great experience to our customers. So we develop an onboarding and a virtual onboarding, and have been totally, hitting out of the park. If we can talk about as a business model that e-commerce for all the business has grown 3x or 4x in terms of recruitment process, using technology and digital has grown 5x. Our converting out in, to give you an example, we have around 27 associates in Central America, and we have interaction for more than 98,000 people on the internet that wants to work for us, that we are using not just a simple interview. We are now looking for a skill profile. We're looking for some kind of behaviors, including some kind of preference using the bots, the iBots that you can, artificial intelligence, to understand what is kind of match between what we are looking for and what the people is looking. In traditional way, you were looking for somebody to have an experience on retail. Now we are looking to somebody who has a lot of collaboration skills, to have a lot of interaction with using digital source, to become more agile thinking, to be more flex. And that kind of situation has helping us. We are still in a learning curve. We were talking out of this interview. But we are learning faster because we have not other option. Training process, more than 2 million hours by training in 3 months. Wow. Where in traditional terms, we were using around the same amount on hours of 2 million per year. And we did it in 3 months because you have access now to the training online. We have been providing a different tools, which is very, very important. Nothing works as a magical formula. You need to invest in technology. You need to rethink. And it's something that I learned a long time ago that I'm using now. We have been learn to unlearn.
Learn to unlearn. I love it.
Right.
Learn to unlearn to relearn. Yes.
That's exactly the point that we have been done. And there is more to come, but this is what has been impacted. And we are sure that this is not going to be the end. It's not going to be the end. Now it's moving faster as everybody is moving into that arena. And now, since we were they say not the first one, but at least the top 10 that start using that kind of technology in Mexico and Central America, now everybody's coming. So the war for talent and the new skilled people is continuous growing.
Well, now listen, I love just hearing all of this. And so I'm going to now push this a little in a different direction, right? At the end of the day, if you believe some of the headlines, when we say remote work is going to become the way, we at SHRM have always said what's really frustrating about that is it ignores the fact that there are a lot of essential workers out there who are more than firefighters and healthcare workers, et cetera. You all were essential. Walmart needed to continue to operate. And so now the issue of safety of your employees, they didn't have the option to go work remotely. Most of your employees, I dare say, had to continue coming to your stores. Here's a question for you. How has Walmart pivoted to support the safety, right? The safety and well-being of their workers in this environment? Again, a significant portion of your population can't work remotely. I know me, I walk into your store, I need the hand sanitizer, I need the toilet paper, I need all of those things. And frankly, someone has to be there to stock those shelves. And even if you're not in a store, someone needs to be in your distribution centers. Someone has to drive your trucks to get the product to the stores. This requires people. And so I'd love you to talk just for a second, because we've spent so much time globally talking about the future of people working remotely. You actually have a unique viewpoint. A lot of your employees will never be able to work remotely. How are you bringing them back to work safely and maintaining not only their physical well-being, but their emotional and mental well-being? Because it's tough to go to work every day knowing that you're being exposed to people who could get you sick, and then you could take that stuff home to your family and get them sick.
Thank you. This is the question, and
Yes.
has been and will be, because we are always protecting and our customer and clients, of course, partners in sense, as well as our associates. So we are, thanks God that we have this, we have been blessed with the commitment and continuous support from our associates all around the globe, and especially in Mexico and Central America. They are willing to help us, willing to continue operating, and we have been done that during the last years. Of course, to be more specific to your question, we have split it into three different elements, which is really important for our associates. It was the physical protection, okay, and attention, the emotional one, and the economical one. Okay,
Yes.
so this is three elements was really, really key for us in order to maintain what we can do in these three elements. We have been implementing a lot of circumstances and situation. We understand at that time that we need to re-energize our associated, reconnect with our associated, because we have 100% of home office in headquarters, which is 100% flex to work from your house or other place with not being in the store. And we have the other part, which is going to the store. So we need to balance that process.
Yes.
So we have re-energized to understand the pandemic emotional impact, reconnect and refocus. And I think the last one, as easy as we can say, it is the most important, because we reduce from a lot of different priorities into 2 or 3. So physically, we deliver a lot of support, training, onboarding, what is and what is not, what you can do, a lot of training and certification process, follow all the protocol that the authority has been requesting, and go further and beyond.
Yes.
A couple of examples. There is a classification in Mexico and Central America for vulnerable people, which is people who have some kind of disease or something, some age, or etc. that have that classification.
So vulnerable people.
Vulnerable people.
Okay.
Vulnerable people. So we let go home with full salary and benefits 22,000 of our associated before 2 weeks before that the governors came with a recommendation to send them home.
Got it. That's
so right. that because we believe in that process. We start moving. We basically, in the traditional retail in Mexico, Central America, you pay bi-weekly. Although it's not important in our mind for a people who have been facing this kind of situation, economical crisis, having the money per week than per bi-week is super important. So we move in 3 weeks, something that we were fighting for more than 6 months. In 3 weeks, we implement that. We start using a lot of technology to support them. A line, a 100, an 800 line that you can call to receive yourself and your family some support from an expert in order to, I have anxiety, I don't want to go to work. We give up to 3 months of permits to not work with salary to the employees who has not able to work on that. So, and I can continue with more. We gave a special continued discount to our associates to buy products our store to facilitate their life and the access to food and other stuff. We continues doing that, hiring a chief medical officer.
Yes.
There was an external expert that was giving us that kind of advice to say, you need to go and provide this kind of support in terms of protocol at the store. So he's checking if we are doing good or bad. He has come to say, you are doing great. All the prevention measures at the store. We provide, example, transportation, which is in our countries, moving from one place to another, has the highest contagious percentage, because you are moving with a different people in one small bus or some truck. And now we are providing, at most, not at all, but the most we can, direct transportation. We gave a couple of recognition bonus to our people, because they were really focused and working at the stores. And we recognize this is very important to have the continuity of the operation at the countries. So we gave one in April, and we repeat that in October, recently 2 months ago. And we have a special people which are volunteers, means do not receive any kind of income from the company, on the cashiers. So they are packers that help people to put on their products on their cars, etc.
Oh,
and
nice.
We have that's amazing. The majority of them, Johnny, people are vulnerable people, because they are elder than 60, 65, etc. They had social security, in some cases some pension plan, but they are willing with the government to come, reactive a little bit.
Yes.
We have around 20,000, because we are huge on that. We send them. We cannot pay them because they are not associated directly. What we have providing a food basket a couple of times during the for them and their families. So and I can continue doing, and it will be not enough for the amount of effort and commitment that our people has in the stores. I was hearing and having this webinar, and let me just show this as to end my idea. We used to have these famous town halls, no?
Town halls.
Once or two per year. And was more people from headquarters, store people, it's not really committed. Now we're having every single month, a conference with around 3,000 to 4,000 associated, directly talking to the general manager, talking to the executive committee, talking about the stores. So what we normally do is we now organize a virtual tour. So it's not myself telling you what you need to do. So now, in a traditional way, you will have 8 people, top executives, going to a store, visiting and giving some recommendation. Now I have I'm visiting a virtual tours with 80, 90 people on the Zoom basis, 6 or 7 speaking, the rest are just observing, but we are visiting 5 or 6 stores and 3 or 4 warehousing in 3 hours. And we are hearing them, and whatever they say they need it, if it is from HR, it is from logistics, if it is for sales, everybody in the meeting is taking note, and the commitment will be no more than 1 week that you can answer what is going to be the action based on the request. No, so that has come as a very important situation. I just end in saying that we have understanding that the question for our associated when they are at the stores are different, but they are committed. So we launched a concept named PROBI, which is the acronyms of purpose, recognition. Let me go directly to not make a mistake on this word, because I have it in Spanish now, probably, and so I need to translate.
Translate for us, yes.
Translate. So it's purpose, okay.
P.
P. The R is go for recognition.
Okay.
The O go for opportunity.
Okay.
The D go for diversity and enjoyment. And the I go for inclusion.
Love it.
In all this PRODI effect, which is means translated, is we start saying purpose. What does exactly mean purpose for all of us, and what is in there for you? And in the opportunity case is what is growing for you means as you are a cashier or you are in a one department in a store in the south part of Mexico. And what is your growing process as a career? So I love that you came with that question, because in our essence, it's not rocket science.
Right.
We are buying and selling products. And the most important part of this piece is our associated to make the things happen at the stores.
My gosh, this is it's interesting to hear. And Prodi, I like that when you talk about that, because that really distills a lot of things into a very simple concept, very much focused on your people. Let me move a little bit to something that we're all struggling with. As bold leaders like yourself and your CEO and Donna Morris, you have an obligation to create future-ready workforces. So it's fine to have the current workforce needs of Walmart satisfied, but the big question is, what about the future? And are they going to be able to adapt your employees, your workforce largely, to the world as it changes, and it's changing so fast? You and your team at Walmart Mexico carried out a major operational change to become more agile. And it's a word that we all use, but you actually had to do it, with employers working in open spaces, right? To this end, do you think this pandemic will create new opportunities for employers and employees? What can organizations do to be more agile? Again, it's a word we all use a lot, like it's like ecosystem and there are words everyone, but what do you actually need to do organizationally to be more agile? Because we know that's the way of the future.
Now, this is important. We have a clear vision that had changed 3 times during the last 2 months. Okay, yes. That's when you are planning strategy on all this uncertainty that we are facing. Yes. We need to become more agile in terms of speed, prioritize your decisions, and be clear on the objective that you're looking for. So I would say, in terms of mobility, we have this debate like 2 weeks ago with all the ExCom to say, we need to be there for our stores, no? So there is a clear picture that we were thinking at the end of 2020, we are going to come back in certain percentage to the office, 60%, 70%, right. Mean office headquarters or support areas, and the store will continue. But now all the equation has changed and challenged us, because e-commerce has grown 5x or 3x and will continue moving in that direction. So this debate was saying, well, what is the right mix to have in terms of people at home or flex in terms of office? And then we made this conclusion, which is not the end one, that we need to have the right balance between what we need to operate based in our business model. It's not if you are going to, I don't know if you are now in Washington, Denver, Delaware, wherever you are, yes. Because you have this space and you are deliver the right objective of this conference, which is yes. being connected, be present, etc. So the debate that we are facing, it is not clear. What we have been found is we are estimated that there is going to be some percentage of position that will remain 100% present in place because we need it. That That's definition of the role as actual. There is another composition, which is a mix. Maybe you will have a 60-40, 50-50 that you need hybrid. To go to some hybrid. Mm-hmm. And then finally, you will have somebody or some positions, critical position, including that we are 100% virtual or flex totally, not in any place. That yes. has come as part of our strategy. for the
Yes.
coming 3 years. Now that it's as simple as we name it back to office model.
Back
So
to office.
back to office model that we don't have exactly what doesn't means. We
Right.
have different ideas because of the uncertainty, as I mentioned. But the composition, as I say, Johnny, will depend on your business model, which is
That's
having
right.
challenging us is from January, February of this year, that was 95% present,
Yes.
5% of flexibility. We were in Mexico and America having short Fridays, which is
Yes.
you work a little bit more during the week and you go after lunch on Friday, which is a common practice around the globe. In
Right.
retail, I mean,
Not
the
so
stores
common.
is open on Saturday and Sunday.
That's
I mean,
right.
are you? And that's a question we have. Now we are effectively operating 100% flex. So
Wow.
in our XCOM meeting that occurs every single day for an hour, there is no one who has been avoid that meeting. And I can assure that 50% of them are not physically in one city. We are
Wow.
all spread around the countries. One person for Central America was based in South America, in Brazil,
Hmm.
and having 4 meetings from there. Other was traveling to USA. We know the restriction that we have to moving around countries, but
Yes.
although that, we have been very effective. I will tell you, we have been learned to have 30 minutes of presentation. We are going to have a pre-reads to make that very effective meeting. And we have 2 topics, one moderator, and it's fast as never we imagine will be. So that's kind of situation is what we are saying.
Well, so that's interesting, and it segues to I guess I got 5 or 7 minutes, but Walmart has put an emphasis on hiring, not surprisingly. You talked about the mass numbers during the pandemic and continuing at the same time to diversify your workforce. How has the pandemic and global mobility restrictions hindered or helped toward achieving those goals? Because you just talked about it. You can't just move across borders just because you have a passport or a visa. It's a little more complicated now, depending upon where the hotspots are globally. How have you addressed that?
It's a good question. We have been challenged and we are challenged now, but
Mhm.
we are now experiencing having somebody who has been appointed for running strategy for Mexico, helping Mexico, living in USA. We
I
have
got it.
somebody. We have somebody that has now running the talent and development process for Mexico and Central America, sitting in Chile in South America. So
Got it.
what we continue with our agenda. On contrary, we start looking for talent. We start looking for new digital skills, and we are hiring people as normal. It was not at the beginning because of the up and down learning, but
Right.
now we have that flexibility.
Nice.
And once that I want to mention is among this pandemic, we have
Yes.
been creating a different kind of cross-boarding best practice sharing. No? And we
That
have people
helps.
from South Africa, South America, North America, Mexico, including India. The time sometimes is not helping because you need to be at 6 a.m. or at 10
That's
p.m.
right.
on that meeting. But it is amazing, Johnny, the commonality of the challenge that we're facing, the same kind of topic to address things, a simple idea to have somebody external as a medical chief medical officer
That's
that
right.
have all the credentials to give you some direction. I mean, you are not inventing nothing, and this person has the information from one country that apply globally.
So that's interesting that you talk about that. The final big question for me is much of your recruiting prior to the pandemic, you admit, was done in person. Um, How has the organization, and you talked about this a little bit, pivoted to hiring 100% virtual? And more importantly, you've kind of told us about that, but what changes do you foresee in the global mobility space over the next 12 months, specifically with respect to hiring virtually?
Standardization. I mean,
Yes.
among the process of hiring, we're looking at a couple of important positions for us, and we are searching globally. And in the natural way, somebody hiring from centralized interview, they like their style, like the experience, and then send somebody reports on hiring.
You're right.
Now, it is a little bit more complex because we have 6, 7 people with different criteria, very strong leaders with a lot of experience who wants to have different capabilities. So standardization, using of assessment, external assessment that was not for that kind of position in the past a common use. And you say, well, I like this, and this element, man or woman. And this is the type of the qualification, preference, capability that this person has showing versus what we are looking into the future. So has changed that alignment, and we are a little bit moving 2 steps ahead to say, okay, this person have a great experience from retail, okay, what about the needs that I will have in the new reality during the next 2 years?
That's right.
If these people is going to come to not be functional head, command and control, will be more flex, will be more willing to delegate power or decision, willing to look the process not as an insulate silo, looking as a end-to-end, be part of a board, not having his preference of the function, but more than that. So we are looking into that. So that awareness for me has been an amazing, because you have 6 people seeing and reading data analytics that see a prediction of what is going to behave this person on the new reality, which is amazing.
Well, and indeed, and I just can't thank you enough for, I've enjoyed our conversation today. I want to thank you for joining us, but I'm especially hoping that everyone out there listening at SHRM GMIS this year and hopefully next year, is the world has changed. And Eduardo and his colleagues at Walmart have actually shown us that you've got to deal with a very, very different employment environment and business environment. But this applies globally. It's impacting mobility. It's going to impact immigration. There's a lot going on right now. And I hope you all use this conference in the next couple of days to really know a lot about what we can do to impact our workplaces. If this is your first time, I hope you're learning a lot, that you're enjoying the conference, that you're meeting new people because you're not really in person anymore like we traditionally would do. And most importantly, that you take some of what you've learned back to your organizations to drive innovation. You talked about that a lot, Eduardo, on the front end. Collaboration, another word that you mentioned, which we've got to get into. We've got to do this globally to workplaces, because it really matters. Our CEOs, our business leaders know this work matters, and they want us, human resources professionals, to lead now, not follow, but lead. Flexibility, agility, collaboration. That's what we're about, helping get our global economy back on track. Thank you again so much, and I look forward to seeing you in person one day soon. Be well, Eduardo.
Thank you, Johnny. My pleasure.
Thank you.